Hey everyone, welcome to Know Your Gear 57. How's it going? Everybody see me okay? Just drinking some coffee. Today be a little strange because there's a time zone change. I figure I'm going to come on a little early or a little late, depending on how you look at it. So let's see how it's going. And today's episode might be a little long, depending on how it goes and how many of us are on here. So, hey, how's it going? Somebody said, how's my day? It's pretty good. I'm filming all the Sharpen My Axe videos right now, or not all of them, but a bunch of them to start off. And they're extremely time consuming. Each one taking, seems like 8 to 10, maybe even 12 hours. The one I'm currently working on, I was accumulating the running total. I'm probably at 10 hours right now, and I still have about an hour or 2 hours to finish them on that one. So they are pretty time consuming as we go. So very interesting to say the least. And then while I'm doing this, so my camera that I use, save it, every once in a while goes back to autofocus. So I just want to make sure it's not doing that. All right. So anything exciting going on in your guys' end? Let's see. So somebody says they can't hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm showing audio, so I'm showing that the audio is recording fine. Dane's got a question. It says, hey, what's your thoughts on the True Temperament frets, right? And maybe thoughts on how to get it. You know, I've only seen two people with them. Steve, I had one on one guitar, and he talked about it. And then I saw Hanner Gunson, who's got a great channel, and he's one of the patrons here, and he's got a guitar with them. They're just so crazy. I don't even know what to say. They actually intimidate me looking at them. Like when I look at the true, you guys don't know what he's talking about. True Temperament frets. Let's take a look just while I'm talking about it. True Temperament frets are this idea that, you know, it's kind of like a perfect intonation thing, but it is this crazy. They look like lightning bolts is the best way to put it. See if there's an image for everyone. Yep, we'll zoom in on that one. Maybe. Here you go. Okay, so let's show you guys real quick. Here we go. So as you can see right here, you see how the frets all look like kind of like they're bent or distorted. And you can see here's a picture here. Oops, I should probably click on there. So you can see, look at that. See, it's just crazy. I don't know. I would like to hear anybody's feedback if they've had them or tried them. Like I said, I look at them, and to me, considering I can work on frets, it's really intimidating to look at them because I'm like, if something goes wrong, I can't do anything. At least I assume. So, all right. So let's see. Next question. Oh, Lauren said, True Temperament is a nice idea, but who are you going to play with? Yeah, I don't know. You know, I think Steve I did a great review of them. He said they were fantastic. He could hear a difference, but he said, but basically it's been years and years of guitars that have been incorrectly intonated. Basically, you know what I mean? So what are you trying to do? I don't know. I think it's cool to strive for something better. Looking at them, I haven't seen one physically in person, so that's another thing too. I'm curious about them, probably like you are too. Oh, here's a good question. Somebody says, have you ever had a guitar that you just didn't click with? Yes, many actually. So you know. In fact, there's a guitar that I can think of. There's a Paul Reed Smith that I bought that to this day is probably my dream. It's my dream looking PRS. It was so fantastic. And I just could not connect with that guitar. So and what's worse is I got this amazing deal. So it was like this amazing looking guitar, amazing deal. And I couldn't connect with it. So a good friend of mine bought it from me. He still has it to this day. He loves it. Every time I see him with it, I think, man, you know, I made a mistake. And then I pick up playing again. No, yeah, just for some reason it doesn't connect. But it's not because it's bad. It's just something about it. Neck doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. So Somebody says, how does your coffee mug stay so full? Ta-da! I don't know. YouTube magic. John says, have you ever smashed a guitar? Yes, I will admit it. We used to have this thing at the shop called Smash Guitar Saturdays. And what would happen is there are certain guitars that are just unfixable, unsalvageable, always acoustics. Like think of like a $79 acoustic, right? It's sold new for $79. It's defective. There's just no way to fix it. You could strip some tuning keys off of it, maybe, but there's just not a whole lot to get out of it. So we would fix them, up and donate them. And then the ones we just couldn't, I would let everybody smash them on Saturdays at the shop. And then eventually we stopped. So no one got hurt. Just, everybody, there was partners, right? I wasn't the only owner, and not everybody agreed. Let's put it that way, that it should be done. But it was fun, and we got some, it was good. It was a good, fun thing to do. Like I said, especially sometimes because when you repair instruments, even the ones like that, we would do a lot of them where we do a lot of instruments for charities, for a lot of all kinds of programs, for those Guitars in the Classroom is a great program. There's Honor House is another great program. There's Music for Soldiers. There's all these great programs. So, but sometimes just the guitars weren't salvageable. So. Rich says, hey, Phil, have you ever bought and sold a pedal in under a week? Oh, that's a weirdly great question. Let's see. Because it sounds like something I've had to have done, but probably not. But something to that effect. A month, for sure. I bought a pedal and sold it in a month, not liking it. So I just can't think of one. Can't think of a pedal though. Okay, let's go. What else we got? Oh, here's a good question too, because I understand neck questions are always great because one of the problems we all have is sometimes you can't get your hands on a neck. So the question from Jeremy C is, hey Phil, how is the neck on a Gretsch Streamliner? Is it thick? I think he means thick. Is it thick like the Electromatic series? Funny enough, I have my Electromatic series right outside the door, and I have a Streamliner outside the door, and the necks to me feel almost identical. So if that helps, they feel almost the same to me on the hollow bodies, the two hollow bodies I had. So if you go through the videos, those are the two I have, the Electromatic and the Streamliner I have. I haven't noticed. They might be slightly different in neck shape and size, but not enough for me to notice. So I've never looked. Let's see. If you could jam with only one famous guitar player, who would it be? It would be Mark Tremonti, because every time I see him interact with musicians, he's so nice. And so since I've already jammed with Phil X, and that would probably be one of those too, and especially because Phil X liked Tremonti. It's great. And just on a side note, I was talking about this yesterday with some friends about Phil X, and I get the same vibe from Tremonti. Phil X, when you jam with that guy, he's a high caliber player. And when you make a mistake, you can see it. He doesn't care. I mean, he cares, but he's, as long as you're having a good time and he's having a good time, it could be okay. And I get the vibe from Tremonti. It's the same thing. If you're having a good time and he's having a good time, it'll be okay. So that takes some of the stress out of it. Bungie Biker did a super chat. Thanks, Bungie Biker. I appreciate that, man. Vintage Six Strings got a question through super chat. Phil, which kind of speaker do you prefer? Creamback, greenback, or blueback speakers in your amp and cab, and why? So if I was going to say the speaker I prefer, I would have to go off the speaker I have the most of, and it's Heritage speakers by Celestion. Most of my cabinets have those speakers. Celestion Heritage speakers. I have a greenback. Almost all my amps have different speakers through the experimentation process of messing with speakers. So in my 65 Deluxe Reverb, I have a greenback. In my Supersonic, I have a Vintage 30. And so, I mean, it just goes that way, different ones. I have a creamback in a cabinet that I use, but I tend to like the Heritage speakers. And then next, I would probably say the creamback and then the greenback. The bluebacks, like the Alnico speakers, they're fantastic. But I don't currently have one. I had a 212 with them in it. I sold it. That was a heavy regret because I thought the cabinet sounded great, but I wasn't using it. Got rid of it. And then I tried to get another one and it didn't sound great. So maybe it was the magic. Okay, so P.S. Bradshaw says, hey, Phil, greetings from London, Ontario. Greetings. Love the channel. Thank you. Emailed you twice with a question. Have you ever tried, I don't even know how to say it. Albion amps, Albion amps. Do you have any comments? I've never tried the amps. Doesn't sound familiar to me, but I'll check it out because now it's in the index. So thank you for the suggestion on that. Because I like, you know what? Some of these live things, this is where I hear about the most cool gear is with your guys' comments and stuff. Kay Edwards says, will Phil X or Steve Salas be at the next GigCon? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm assuming Phil X will be there. I'm just assuming that. I have not heard anything. The only information I know about GigCon is the dates. And that's because they sent me an email saying, hey, what airport are you flying out of? And here are the dates. So I have no details about GigCon. I got the impression the last communication I had with them is they're still deciding everything. But I'm sure everybody who was, well, it feels like everybody who was here last year is invited again, and then a bunch of new people. So I would imagine Steve Salas and Phil X will be there. So, Stu's got a comment. It says, guitar purchasing strategy. I never plug in a guitar in the music store. I buy it on feel. My amp and pedals sound so different, it ain't worth it. I agree with that. I've seen that strategy, many times where people just play the guitar acoustically, especially electric guitar. And there's this theory that even says that if the guitar sounds good and it resonates right, you know what I mean? Then it'll be fine. That is a good strategy. I don't use that strategy for myself. And the main reason is because I'll set my guitar's action a little low and the notes choke out a little bit. So without any kind of amplification, my guitars tend to sound a little dead and lifeless. You know what I mean? Because I kind of go for the feel over sound thing sometimes with the instruments. But I like that strategy, and I will use it to some degree. I will play the guitar for a minute or so before I plug it into amp. My strategy is I always make sure that if I'm looking at guitars, I plug them into cheap amps. If I'm looking at amps, I use cheap guitars. That's kind of the strategy I use. I basically try not to let something that's really nice make something that maybe is not as nice sound better. If that logic works for you too. Here's a good question. It says, hey, Phil, can you play a guitar through a bass head with a guitar cabinet? Does it work and how good is it? So an amplifier is an amplifier. So you can plug a guitar into a bass amplifier and a guitar through a bass amplifier, the actual amplifier itself. That is fine. Where the gray area is, guitar speakers do not handle a lot of bass frequencies well. So running a bass guitar through a guitar speaker. So a lot of people ask me, like, can I plug my bass guitar into my little guitar practice amp? And the issue is that it's the speaker that you're potentially damaging. So in your case, a bass head through a guitar cabinet, that is where I would be concerned, is the guitar cabinet. So you really need to check the rating of the speakers in the guitar cabinet and what they can handle for low frequency. Over the years, though, that gets a little kind of crazier to define because two things. One, some of the guitars now are basses. They're 8-string guitars and they're speakers that are dialed in for that. And there are tons of bass players like ZZ Top and Michael Anthony Wolfgang, Eddie Van Halen's son. They'll play through some guitar cabinets sometimes. So it can be done. I just caution you to make sure you watch out not to blow the speakers and just do your best research on that. So John Newton did a super chat. Says, hey, Phil, have you ever used or know of a learning game software called Rocksmith? Yeah, Rocksmith. Yeah, it's the video game system where you plug your actual guitar into it. I will honestly tell you, I think Rocksmith for a very long period of time, the Lesson Academy students were mostly coming from Rocksmith. Rocksmith, and and I want to give you a really good piece of advice that one of my instructors told me. My buddy Joe. It's actually my buddy Joe, but he's an instructor, and he said this really amazing thing. He said all his students that come from Rocksmith have two traits that he thinks is interesting. One, they know how to play a lot of songs, and he says that's impressive. They're new to guitar, and he says even more so than other people at the same. So in other words, if somebody without Rocksmith has been playing for 6 months, somebody with Rocksmith for 6 months, he says the person with Rocksmith, they definitely have a bigger vocabulary of songs and seem to be more polished when playing those songs. But they have almost no musical theory and no concepts of what they're doing. They just know how to do it. And he said that's great for him because it's easier to kind of explain the theory and kind of work with somebody than sit there and try to, bend people's fingers on their fretboard and move people around. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about the Rocksmith. I think it's a good idea. I haven't seen a whole lot of bad things. Tukachin, sure, Tukachin. I'm going to butcher all these names. Sorry, buddies. It says long-term thoughts on the St. Vincent. Thinking about buying one to go with the SG. Should I get a single coil guitar instead? Still love my St. Vincent. It's really good. In fact, it's in the other room because I'm playing it right now. Really, really cool. My buddy Ralph played it and said it was one of his favorite guitars he ever played. So, yeah, I still give that high praise. Well, as you guys know, I just reviewed the Chapman guitar. I really like that guitar as well. I like the St. Vincent more. I think I paid the same for both, right? Both for $450. So doing it over again, only have $450. You can only buy one of those. I'd probably buy the St. Vincent. Just based on, and funny enough, although I think the St. Vincent's cool, I think the Chapman looked a little cooler, but the St. Vincent it's a really good guitar. So if that helps. And I think, so Lawrence on the Rocksmith, here's a point. Lawrence said he tried Rocksmith and the latency drove him crazy. And something I would suggest on that is experience I've had. All of the tools that get people learning guitar that I've tried to kind of give insight on people, what I've learned is knowing guitar makes it impossible. Does that make sense? I think I liken to a lot of things that basically, if you know how to do something and then you try a beginner's course, it's going to be weird because you already know how to do it. So I think I would have the same problem too. But if you're an absolute beginner, I think the latency issue, because I find there's a latency issue too, but I don't think a beginner would notice it as much. Yeah, so Adam's got a great point, ties in the St. Vincent. What a great conversation. It says he held the St. Vincent the other day and it felt tiny. Don't know why, just weird. Okay, what I will tell you, two things that I will say, both about the Chapman guitar and the St. Vincent. Both guitars make me feel exposed. In other words, I don't feel like I'm hiding behind the guitar. They're definitely guitars that are minimalized out of the way. And that was a very awkward feeling for me because I'm used to a Strat, a Les Paul, a guitar, that's just in front of you. And yeah, that was kind of odd for me too. And I'm not even sure I like that overall, but I do recognize that what I don't like about it is it's unfamiliar because I haven't done it. Dominic says, hey, I saw you included those Dark Moon pickups in that Epiphone Sharp Max video. How are they? I thought they were fantastic. I thought they sounded really good. I enjoyed them very much, and I hope the person that got the guitar enjoyed them very much, Bob. But no, they were great. And I was told Dark Moon's going to start doing single coils too. So I'm curious about those. So, and then somebody's mentioning that Rocksmith is like Guitar Hero for real guitar players. Yeah, I think that's actually what the design was, hey, stop giving them a game controller and give them a real guitar. Kiefer Sutherland. All right. No, said, I just ordered a Guild Starfire V. Do you have any experience or opinions about those? Mine is a 2017 made in Korea. Other than just passerby trying stuff over time, I've never actually had one, but I'm curious. It's made in Korea. I'm very favorable on the made in Korea guitars for sure. And I think that was a good guitar, the Guild Starfire. So yeah, I'm curious. Actually, I'd be actually more interested to hear what you think. Maybe in the next live show or two, if you could chime in and let us know what you thought of it. Scrambled Eggs 211 says, did a super chat. Thank you again. Hey, Phil, can you recommend a dual channel bass head similar to the Doug Pennick Tech 21 head? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually going through bass gear because I'm going to be doing more bass reviews because I have my new bass. So I'm looking at some of the bass gear as we speak. And I had one of my favorite amps was my Phil Jones. That is a dual channel bass head, but it crapped out on me. And so I don't know if I could recommend it. You know what I mean? I didn't put it through a very hard paces for it to kind of die, and it died. So Now, in all fairness, they tried to, or I emailed them, told them it broke, and they emailed me back and said, they told me what I could do to try to fix it. I tried it, didn't work. So they said I could send it to them, but I haven't had time. So, okay, so great. Cannon Lawrence, last week, if you remember, he talked about doing his first gig. He's got a follow-up. So let's hear what he says. So he says, hey, Phil, the first gig went great. Can you give my band a shout out? We are Velvet Sunrise. Well, I just did. So Velvet Sunrise, they're on Facebook and Instagram. We have some videos up. Great. I'm glad the first gig went great, man. That's awesome to hear, you know. So everybody check out Velvet Sunrise. Like I said, you can get them through their social media, Facebook, Instagram. Give them a check out. Give them some kindness. Tell them you love them, because, you know, it's always great to see bands, out there doing gigs. Something that I would love to see more of. Okay, the next question we have is from Marco, and he says, hey, Phil, roller bridge question. Okay, I have an Epiphone Sheraton with a Bigsby. Any big difference or preference between the Wilson, Schaller, Tone Pros, etc., and the Graphtec Resomex do the same? Hold on, I want to make sure that's what it says, because I have a little icon in front of mine. And so my experience is really that none of those stood out for me. In fact, when you notice I did my Gretsch Sharp Max, I did the Resomax bridge because Graphtec was gracious enough to send those parts to me, so I didn't have to out of pocket those. And I've said this before, I would have used the roller bridge too. It was just as good. So there you go. I've had no bad experiences with any of them. Anything that just reduces friction. I know that's probably not helping you to kind of funnel it down. But out of the ones you mentioned, I'd probably go with the Resomix or the Resomax by Graphtec, or I would go with the roller bridge. That's just suggestions. And Bunga, I don't know why I can't say his name. Bunga E Biker, whatever, Biker. I'm going to start making up my own names. So I'm trying, guys. I have a Cube Micro amp. I use it for practicing. Me too. I have the Cube Micro as well. I use it all the time. So in his bedroom, do you have any suggestions for more useful options and any mods you would suggest to the Gibson for a Gibson SG? I already have locking keys. So yeah, do I have any suggestions for more useful options? No, I like the Micro amp, man, for like quiet practice at home. It's an unbeatable amp. I've had mine I think mine's 10 years old, maybe, right? It's definitely close to that. I've had it forever and I use it all the time. So got nothing but good love to say for the Micro Cube. I even keep it in battery mode a lot. I'll use the batteries instead of plugging to the wall. Suggestions for your SG guitar: always to make sure the nut is a bone nut or graphite or Corian, something nice to help it stay in tune, especially now you got those locking keys in there. That's always a really good option to do to the SG. And then other than on the Gibson SG, if you like the pickups, I think you're good to go, man. They do some really good stuff. I have no problem with the bridges, no problems with the electronics in most cases. So yeah, I think you're good. You did it. Locking keys and nut. Those are the two things I would suggest for an SG, and maybe locking strap locks. So that's another good suggestion as well too. Six string, basically on rest. Six string on rest says, hey, any benefit to a brass nut? That's a interesting phrase question, because it's not, is a brass nut better or worse? It's any benefits. What would be the benefit over, let's say, a graphite nut? Not that I know of. I will tell you this. I am working on a video. It's one of the Sharp My Axe videos, and I removed a graphite nut and put a bone nut on, and the graphite sounded better, so I had to put the graphite back. And that was a little shocking to me. I was not anticipating that experience the way it was. So, and I'm a real big fan of bone nuts, so I was really shocked. I thought I was like, yes, this is gonna be awesome. And it's probably because I've never done that before. I've replaced plastic nuts to graphite, plastic nuts to bone. But I've never took a graphite to bone and vice versa. So it was interesting to see how it worked. Here's a good one. He wants to know, it's a gold old Tom, Goldo Tom says, hey, Phil, which EVH LBX is best for metal? Do I need to wait and get the feedback from the PRS MT15? I think for metal, they're both LBXs are the same. You know what I mean? Just one has a clean channel. And so for metal, they're both the same. I have the first LBX because I think I prefer the distortion slightly more than on the second one. But given the second one has that clean channel, that's a really nice feature. I hate to say this without putting my hands on the MT15 for a personal review, right? Besides just the dynam and stuff. The MT15 might be the winner, man. I mean, the clean channel, it's going to be sick. It's going to have a great dirty channel. Something to think about. But I really like the LBX. So. Okay. Oh, okay. The question is about, so Micro Dulio says, Warmoth guitars, thoughts on playability, quality, fit, finish? Yeah. Warmoth guitars, I've had great experiences with. I have built a couple myself, for me personally. I have definitely assembled. I've done at least a dozen and probably 2 dozen Warmoth projects where somebody's brought me the entire, everything, all the compartment, all the components. So Warmoth neck, Warmoth body, everything they ordered, and then paid me to assemble it all. So doing that, it's always been a pleasure. I've never had to can't believe they did this wrong. Never. So Warmoth, I would definitely give them great props for that. If anyone's had an opposite experience, I always like to hear it because, like I said, mine's only a sample size of situations, but overall very good. So yeah, no, my thought is the good quality. Playability is actually how you put it together, and the finish, quality and fit and finish work has been fine, no issues. The only thing about Warmoth is make sure that when you go to order, you know exactly what you want because you don't want to be ill prepared for any questions they have and make some jump cut decisions. So in other words, like if you know what fret wire you want, but you know what neck you want, but when you're, if they ask you what radius, be prepared to understand the questions. So because you are going to get a custom part. So, okay. This is from Counting Days. He did a super chat. Says, do you view it as a problem if the acoustic tuning of an unamplified, okay, let's try this again. Do you view it as a problem if an acoustic tuning of an unamplified electric guitar does not align with the tuning using the tuning pedal? Okay, this is a really interesting question. So I'm going to basically kind of summarize it. So the question is the electric guitar acoustically? So you have an electric guitar and you're hitting a note acoustically, and you're also plugged into a tuner pedal, and it's not aligning with what the tuner pedal is saying. I've never experienced that. I guess that's what I would have to say. So I would say it would be a problem. I'd really be curious to see it. Obviously, the main thing, I can't tell you this. Actually, the closest thing I've ever had to that problem was a good buddy of mine had a Boss TU3, I think. And it was either TU3 or TU2. And he brought it over to me, and because his guitar did not sound right every time he tuned it. And it was because the tuner itself was not calibrated for the standard tuning, because you can go in. So I would say if you're having that problem, just I would check the tuner pedal, the tuner actual pedal. Seems like a lot of trick words today. Tuner pedal. Make sure it is correct. So you can go into the manual, go online, and make sure it's set to factory settings, default, and standard tuning. That is probably what is happening, is that your tuner is lying to you. That is probably the likely culprit in that situation. So, oh, it jumped. Cajun Floridian Fishing says, hey, it's my first join in live. Hey, I just wanted to say hey and say thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay. Cheddar Kung Pao says, Roland PRS SE245 is about $650 to $700 new and a great single cut guitar. But, oh, guys, you guys are probably talking to each other. Yeah, I agree with what he's saying. The SE245 is a great single cut guitar. So I'm sure whatever I eavesdropped in, I've chimed in on. David's got a really hard question, man. David says, "Hey Phil, how do you protect signatures on a guitar from erasing?" I can tell you the only advice I have, if it's really that important to you, I would take it to a professional paint shop, a guitar shop that paints, and have them clear coat it. Any other thing is, because here's why: if you try to clear coat it, I've seen it. I've seen every horrible disaster. People sometimes spray the clear coat themselves, and it gets wet, and the ink runs, and it's a disaster. I've seen people seal it with nail polish. I've seen everything. It's up to you. If it's that important to you, just have somebody do it right. Otherwise, you can't touch the guitar. That's just how it goes. So I have more experience removing signatures off guitars than I do protecting them. So I can tell you how to get signatures off guitars, but it's really hard to keep them on. Okay. Okay. Matt Brodus says, what's not a question? All right. He didn't have a question. He was a statement. Okay. So next one is, hey, Phil, let's go back. Oh, Gavin wants to know, how good are the Ibanez iron labels compared to the similarly priced Schecter guitars? My experience with both those guitars, they're on par. I'm an Ibanez guy, so I prefer Ibanez over Schecter, but for some reason, the iron labels I think are very, very good. But for some reason, Schecter's fit and finish is always just a hair better, in my opinion. But I would say they are almost on par with each other. So if you're thinking about getting an iron label, but you're concerned that you might lose some quality by not getting a Schecter, I think you're safe. But if you're really optimized in, hey, I want the best absolute quality of those two lines, I think Schecter has a better consistency of nailing it every time. And I've said this before, Schecter's quality is not that they make a better guitar, it's that they're better at filtering out bad guitars. Schecter has a really great, efficient way of taking out bad guitars before they get to customers. That's what these mass-produced guitars are all about. There's going to be problems. It's how good is the company at making sure we don't see them, holding them back. If they make 10 guitars and they have 2 defects, they're really good. Some companies are better at making sure those 2 defects never get out. So Lee's got a super chat. It says, have a drink on me. Well, I will. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. Steve says, don't let the pressure keep you from being authentic. Your reviews are excellent and sincere. Keep it up. You don't have to read this to the group, but I already did. So sorry, Steve. I appreciate that, man. You know what? Just to tell you the truth, Steve, it's nice to hear stuff like that because I do feel a lot of pressure. I think anybody who does this, anybody who's decided to become a public person and be public with what they think is going to get pounded on. I'm okay with that. I love hearing everybody's opinions. I actually kind of like the my opinions more than the like-minded opinions. I mean, I like finding people who think like me because it makes me feel less like, that I'm out of touch. But I love when somebody's got an opposing argument because I love a good debate as long as it's done cleanly and nicely. So that all being true, I thank you. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to make sure that that I stay the course. That's the best way to put it, right? When I started my YouTube channel, I didn't even know you got paid. I was just doing it to do it. And now that there's money involved, in other words, you get paid from AdSense and stuff, I'm trying not to let that be a changing factor for the channel. Does it make sense? I mean, it's a real part of it because you have to, because I want to do more with the channel. But I also want it to be this, my ideas. Okay, Ryan's got a question. It says, what P90 pickups would you recommend to go into a Gibson SG with humbuckers for a Santana at Woodstock early 60s SG sound? Okay, so in other words, you have humbuckers and you need the SGs that are shaped like humbuckers. That's what I'm getting from this question. And so I currently have some of the Gibson P90s that fit into the humbucker set, and I like those. And I also like the Fat Cats by Seymour Duncan. There are a ton of other ones out there, but I've had good luck with both those. I think both those are good recommendations if you're interested. I'm going to be putting a P90 shaped, a humbucker shaped P90 Gibson pickup in the neck of one of my guitars to match with the Philx bridge pickup. I want to do a P90 in the neck and a Philx in the bridge. So when that happens, which should be shortly, maybe that will give you a reference and you can hear that and see if you like it. All right. All right. Next question is, will I be purchasing, I think it's to me. Tony wants to know if I'll be purchasing a Silver Sky tonight. No. But only interesting thing about that was when I saw the Silver Sky, I think like you guys, I thought, no, interesting. Like I said, we talked about last week. It's funny. Sometimes I wonder about marketing and how it works. During the week, I don't know what's happened, but in the last couple of days, I'm like, maybe I need a Silver Sky guitar. I'm laughing. I hope you guys really relate to what I'm saying now. Sometimes you feel like a crazy person. You're like, I don't know why. I heard, I haven't seen it. I've been told, Bradulus told me, he sent me a message and said that Tallman has a great video where they compare the Silver Sky to a Sur to a Fender. And he said it's worth watching it. It was really impressive. And he said the Silver Sky sounded really fantastic. And I haven't watched it yet because I was busy working and stuff. But I'm like, I kind of don't want to watch it. I don't want to buy a Silver Sky. I really don't. I really don't want a 7¼ inch radius fretboard. And there's probably no other way I'll get to review one if I don't buy one. There's no way they're going to be able to loan me one. They're selling relatively well. So it's a lot of money and a lot of guitar, but I just don't see myself doing it. Same reason I didn't buy a Sur guitar. I think it's just because I know it's going to be probably good, but I like my Fender Strats that I have now, and they're half the price. And so if I'm happy with the guitar that's $1,000, I just don't see the need to buy a guitar for double the price. You know what I mean? So TNT Slash says it's his birthday. Can you give me a shout out? Yeah, man. Happy birthday. That's awesome. I mostly just thank you for hanging out here for your birthday, man. So yes, definitely happy birthday. Okay, Shizo in Stereo says DSL 20 or Origin 20. For me, I've decided not to, because obviously I didn't end up loving the DSL 1, and I was like, maybe the DSL 20 is the way to go, and I'm like, no, I think I'm going to wait for the Origin 20. I think that's the best move for me, so that's what I'm going to do. So that's where I'm at with that. Jared Briggs says, Phil, the pickups on the Silver Sky are amazing. Well, I wouldn't doubt that, because if there's one thing I would really believe is that John Mayer and Paul Reed Smith are going to make a great pickup. In fact, what I was thinking about today, this Jared, was exactly that. I was thinking, knowing Paul Reed Smith the way they are, that company, they're not going to sell those pickups. And I was thinking, what's sad is I just probably would want the pickups. What I mean? When I was thinking about maybe I need the guitar, and I'm like, no, really, I want the pickups, because I'm sure that's what's going to be the magic of the guitar. But, and also part of that too was the fact that one of the guitars I was working on the last 2 days is a really nice Paul Reed Smith. And when you work on a really nice guitar like that, you kind of do enjoy it. It's fun to work on something that, it's built well. So, Cheddar, it said, hey, he's got a super chat. Arnie Music wants to know, when you were a retailer, okay, who are the companies? Wait, this is where their companies? Oh, where their companies? I'm gonna do this again. He wants to know if there were companies that outshined other on how they treated me. Yep. And we have a few that rock. A real pleasure to work with. Again, that's a lot of questions, so I'm going to kind of paraphrase it down so it makes more sense for me. Yes, in retail, in the 12 years that I was operating the store, were there companies that treated me well? Yes. But mostly there are people who treat you well. And what I learned is, for me, and I'm going to give you the companies too. I won't sidestep the question. I need to say this part because it's important. There were people that were fantastic, and I would work with them in a company, and I would think the company was fantastic, and then that person would leave the company, and then the company wasn't that great. And then funny enough, those people would leave and go to another company, and all of a sudden that company was great because those people were great. In my years with dealing with Fender overall has been great because Fender always hires really good people. In my years of being a Fender dealer, I had 4 reps, maybe 5. I'm doing the four out of the 4. One was horrible. I hated him so much. And the other 3, I honestly would call them good friends. And I talk to them anytime I can. Amazing people. And I don't know why I just couldn't jive with the one guy, why we couldn't just get there. And so, it almost made it to almost possible. I almost was done doing business with him for a while because he was just hard to deal with. And I think in that was obviously there's personality issues. You're always going to have that. But the other problem was some of Fender's policies are good and some of them are not good. And when I say that, I mean good for me. They weren't good for my business and some were good for my business. And some reps were really good at assessing what my business needs were as a customer and saying, we're going to make that happen. And that one rep was really good at making sure that whatever Fender wanted, it happened for Fender. Now, maybe Fender liked that, but ultimately I will tell you that 1 year, I only had him for a year before he quit or they fired him or whatever. But in that 1 year was my absolute lowest year in sales with Fender. It dropped almost in half. And so I'm sure that happened a lot. So Fender was a good company to work with. Paul Reed Smith was fantastic. They were always so nice to us. Daddario. I'm sorry, you guys hate it when I say Daddario. Daddario was very nice to us. Who else? Boss was a good company for sure. They had some crazy buy-in stuff and they were a little strict, but always had good people. So it was always about the good people. But some of the small companies were really good too as well. What I can tell you is this, and not to be on a negative, but just as a point, the companies that were impossible to deal with always dealt with one issue: high turnover rates. They just, you know what I mean? It was hard because, you had to get to the point where there's companies that I can think of that I had to make sure I couldn't even talk to them on the phone. They had to get everything in writing through an email or a text because I was taking a chance that in a week that person wouldn't be there anymore, and then they wouldn't know what I was talking about. So those are the issues you have to deal with is high turnover. And there's a lot of companies out there that are just notoriously known for high turnover. There are some companies I deal with. Washburn comes to mind as one. I think in the years I deal with Washburn, which is they were my first company I opened with the store, and I was dealing with them to the day I left. Great guitars, but high turnover. And then now they've been bought by a new company, and I think R&I is having a great experience with them, and I would imagine they would with KMC. But previous to that purchase, they just kept turning over people, and the people were great, but there was just always a new person. So yeah, there's definitely a magic to that. And the trick is that you got to deal with companies that understand what a smaller retailer needs. Otherwise they just want to load you down with stuff. Angry Welder says, he's got a super chat. Thank you again, man. I appreciate that. Says, hey, Phil, I love the channel and all the helpful advice and suggestions. Man, thank you. I appreciate that too. I bought a Laguna LE200 for $100. That sounds like a really good deal. Any suggestions for upgrades, pickups, tuners, electronics? Yeah, I mean, obviously, at $100, if you like the way it plays and you're happy with it, then I would suggest putting those things in it. If you got a good deal, maybe play it for a little while and then flip it, right? Maybe don't lose the good deal. That's my first piece of advice, man. You got a guitar for $100. If it's okay, don't try to turn it into something awesome because it's worth $100. So you can get your $100 later, or you can make up a little bit of money and sell it. But if you decide, yeah, I'm digging the guitar and I want to do it, I think the first thing to do is in order: tuners, then pickups. And electronics is up to you. I think changing out electronics is a big deal. However, the sound is not going to get you as much dramatic as difference as pickups. To me, in my mind, tuners will be the most dramatic thing to affect the tuning ability besides the nut, tuners and nut, and the pickups will do the best for sound. So those are in the order I would do those things. And again, let me know in the future what you end up doing, or I'm always curious. Okay. Oh, Haxon 14's got a great question. What do you think of Duncan Design pickups, specifically SHR Hot Rails, the new version of the HR 101? I like Duncan Design pickups. There are people out there that just hate them. And the reason I like them has nothing to do with my playing experience. That is my repair experience. I have yanked out so many Duncan Designs and put Duncans in them. And every time that's an experience I got to have. That's what's great thing sometimes about being a repair person. You get to experience things. So you know how many times I yanked out a Duncan design? I play it for a while. I played it and I'd yank it out and I'd put in the pickup they wanted and I'd play it and I go, it sounds the same, or it's minimally different at best. What I found was Duncan designs were yanked out of guitars that didn't deserve it. So some people just don't like them, but I think if you don't like the Duncan design, you probably don't like the Duncan version either. And I had a personal conversation with Kathy Duncan about Duncan designs once. Maybe it's a story time. I'll share a fancy story with you. If you don't know who Kathy Duncan is, that is, well, she's Seymour Duncan's ex-wife. Obviously, they're not married anymore, but Seymour Duncan, Kathy Duncan started Seymour Duncan. And I had the great experience of getting to meet her one day. This is many years ago, and hang out with her. And one of the things I did, which I didn't mean to do, was I said, I love your pickups. The only thing I don't like are two things. And she said, okay, hit me. And I said, I don't like that you put them in those baseball card cases. I said, I would rather you guys have blister packs or something that you can hang on the wall. I said, this is just a horrible design. And then she proceeded to tell me the reason why they're in baseball card cases is because when Seymour would wind pickups at night, in the morning, she would get up and she said they lived in a trailer and she would shower with the hose, right? Because that's what they had. And then she would take all the pickups he made down to the card shop and put them in those baseball card holders and then sell them to the stores. And she said, and they've just been doing it ever since. So I was like, well, okay, I get that. That's a tradition, you know what I mean, thing. And I didn't want, I appreciated that. And then the other thing I told her was, I wish instead of putting Seymour Duncan on pickups, how they put the name on the pickup, we know it's a Seymour Duncan because you have a little Seymour Duncan S, the logo. Put the logo and then put the name of the pickup. So if I see a guitar, instead of seeing Seymour Duncan, I could see, JB59 or Custom 59. I would rather see the name. So when I see a guitar and I like the sound, I don't have to pull the pickups out to figure out what's in there. And she said that was a nice suggestion. Obviously, they didn't take it because that was back in 2006 when I first met her. But I asked her about Duncan designs, and she explained to me that Duncan designs are made overseas and they're faithful recreations of their Duncan. They spec them out. They're just made overseas because of the fact that they just physically can't make enough of the pickups to supply some of these manufacturers. So all that is just a long way to say that she really said the Duncan designs are really good too as well. And I agree with her. Sean T did a super chat, says, have you changed the tubes in my DSL one yet? I did not. So, a lot of people emailed me before I even did the review saying, hey, change out a couple of the tubes. The amp is good. Okay. And I still have it. I haven't even got rid of it yet. I like the distortion, and there's nothing I want to change about the distortion. I'm fine with it. The clean is just a little thin for me, and that's fine because it's a little 1-watt amp. And I really don't want to mod it, if that makes any sense. And the reason is because, I wasn't looking for a mod project amplifier. I kind of wanted to just have a little fun thing. And I really think from playing that, really what I think really happened from the DSL-1 is it's not good or bad. It's just playing it allowed me to understand what I'm really looking for right now. And what I think I'm really looking for is maybe something more like the Origin series. Something with a little, maybe hopefully a fatter clean sound and a little bit lighter distortion. So... Max Reverse says, have you put thornbuckers in any of my guitars? Yes. So, in my copper Strat, those are thornbuckers in there. And that's what I have in there. And I absolutely love them. If it wasn't for the price of thornbuckers, because they're expensive, I'd probably yank them, put them on a bunch of other guitars as well. But on the price point, they were pretty high. And I want to try some other pickups. So I bought a Phil X pickup, but I haven't put in anything yet because I'm really curious. Maybe I should do a Phil X versus Pete Thorne pickup challenge. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, you never know. So I'd be willing to do that. Like, I'd just keep the Pete Thornes in my copper Strat since it's only a bridge pickup. Then maybe do a recording of that, yank it out, and put the Phil X pickup to see. Because they're gonna. So they're, from what I can tell from what I'm reading, they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Phil X is hot. It's in a higher output pickup. I think it's an Alnico 8, and Pete Thornes is a classic low output pickup. So it'd be interesting to see how they react maybe to the same amp. Pedro Flores says, hey, thinking about getting an American Jazzmasters 60s in ocean blue. Any thoughts on that versus the classic player? Wondering why it's more than double the money. Here's the deal. They put a premium on the American Jazzmaster and Jaguars. They always have. They, for a while, they were always off the charts expensive. And yes, so the classic player, I, like you, have the same dilemma. I have a Jazzmaster made in Mexico that I like. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was in a video. It was in the background of a video a few months ago, but now it's downstairs. I want the same one you want, the Ocean Blue Jazzmaster 60s. It's just a lot of scratch, and I have trouble if I spend a lot of money on a guitar that I know I'm not going to reuse all the time. So I know I probably won't use the Jazzmaster as much as I hope. So the only thing I can tell you is this: quality wise, they are slightly better than the classic player, in my opinion. They are just not a hugely difference in price. But the reason why it's more than double is they can get it. They're not going to make a lot of them. I'm sure that's how Fender's kind of looking at it, is availability. They're making not as many Jazzmasters as they are Tellys and Strats. I'm not sure. But if you look, it's a 60s reissue. I mean, the Fender's 60s reissue Strats and Tellys are expensive too. So, but yeah, I love the guitar. I love Jazzmasters because I'm a huge Ryan Adams fan. That's why, by the way, I'm a Princeton freak, is because Ryan Adams. So I don't know why I don't own a really nice Jazzmaster. Because it's like, to me, the Jazzmaster and the Princeton, man, that's like, I love that sound. That's the sound for me. But that's why I use the Made in Mexico one. I'm going to say Pekarnarski. maybe this whole show will just be me trying to pronounce weird sign-ons. Pekarnarski says, really appreciate your channel. You are, I'm entertaining. Thank you. And helpful. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. Randy Epps got a question. I ordered a Magnum 44 pedal. That's by Electroharmonics, right? Harmonics. Okay. I think I had that pedal for a while myself. Because it's the powered 40, it's like 40 watts and it's in a pedal. I have a DSL-1 and a TS-9. I have a JB Jazz. Okay. I have a JB Jazz EC1000 and an RG570 with Tone Zone Air Norton. Any recommendations on metal distortion pedal? Okay. So yes. You know what? Right now I'm probably gonna be a broken record forever. It's the Pugilist by Fender, man. If you're looking for a good metal distortion pedal, especially if you're not looking to throw a lot of money down. So in order, and I'm going to do an order by, not order I like them, but the price points. The Pugilist distortion for $100. I can't think of a better recommendation out there for $100. Done. Then once you go up in price, I think for distortion, right? You're talking about metal distortion. I really like my BE100 a lot, and there's tons of them on Guitar Center and on eBay and Reverb right now. Used $150. That's totally definitely a get that kind of pedal. I also like the EVH 5150 by MXR pedal as well, and that's another good one. So those are really good for metal as well. And there's a couple others as well, but those, I'm going to say that for me, the BE100 or the BE OD and the Pugilist are the ways to go for metal right now. So, and the BE100 is just, it's a great pedal for metal. All right. Another question we got. Oh, here's a good one. Magnus wants to know, thinking about getting a Klon pedal, which ones do you recommend? I'm looking at the Mjolnir and the Tumnus, but open to any great suggestions. For Klon clones, the Mjolnir is fantastic, but for some reason, just in my opinion, I like the Tumnus and the Soul Food. Those are the two I like, and the Mjolnir is up there too. So if I was going to say three, it's going to be Mjolnir. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I thought I saw a Thor movie once. Anyways, Mjolnir, the Tumnus, and the Soul Food. Out of the three, the Soul Food I think is cool because it's so immensely inexpensive compared to those guys. But like I said, I like all three of those. What is? Oh, hold on. There was a question. Oh, Tone Chaser wants to know, do I get a lot of feedback from the Friedman BEOD? Okay, so I've never really played really loud with it. Now that you said that, I've never thought about that. I mean, I played loud enough to where like everybody in the house knows I'm playing guitar. You know what I mean? I mean, they're aware. But I haven't played it like where it's like, bam, you know what I mean? I'm ripping, you know, at full volume. So I don't know. But at the volumes I played, no, I've never had any feedback with it at all. It's been a true blue pedal. So, all right. Benjamin says, hey, Phil, I'm thinking about getting the Chapman ML1 Pro or the Jackson SL2 Pro HT. Any thoughts? You know, I've played a lot of the Jackson SL2s, the Pro Series, and I really like them. Me brand-wise, I think I'm more of a Jackson fan than a Chapman fan by brand. But after buying this Chapman Standard Series, the question I got in the background, you know, obviously was, what do you think of it? I would say I did a review of it, but they're like, you know, but here's something I can say to the point to the review, which I didn't really say in the review. The main thing about that Chapman Standard that I really took away from is I really would rather have a Pro, right? The Standard's fine, but now playing it, having it, I like it. The things I critiqued about it are accurate, of course, but now a Pro. So I'm going to say I personally would like to have the Chapman that I have now in the Pro. So I think the ML1 Pro would be a good way to go. So something else to mention too, I'm pretty sure the Pro Chapman is made in Korea and it comes with a deluxe gig bag, and the Jackson is probably made in Indonesia or China and doesn't come with a bag. I'm guessing though. Pretty sure I'm right. Those are my thoughts. You said thoughts. Those are my thoughts. So something to think about. Yeah, so here, you know, so Matthew Roach says, I have an ML1 Pro and it's fantastic. Yeah, I've literally only played one Chapman. It was at the NAMM show, you know, a couple years ago is when I started first started my channel. And I remember thinking it was pretty cool, but it was a show guitar at the show. And so this Chapman that I played when I did the review is really my first Chapman that I've had a lot of experience with. But based on that experience, I would really be more interested in the Pro Series than the Standard Series. I think it was an impressive guitar for the standard. I think it was a pretty good guitar. So I think if it's pretty good at 450, based on everything I understand, I think it'll be a really good guitar in the Pro Series. William also wants to know, Phil, what's my favorite rig that I like to play along with pedals? In other words, what rig do I use for pedals? For pedals, I love to stick pedals in front of my Princeton or my Paul Reed Smith Custom 50 head. Those are the two amps that just I'll shove pedals in front of the most. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Tony says pros come with cases, not gig bags. There you go, man. See? For a short time, you know, there was a short time in Jackson, 2008-ish, somewhere on there. Jacksons were made in Japan and came with cases for that series. And then those days are gone. So all right. Next question. Hold on. Just want to make sure. So he says, what's my favorite gun? My love gun, man. You guys aren't Kiss friends? They have. Am I supposed to say the M16? I was, right? I had a qualify on it once. I guess that makes sense. Okay, next question. Let's see what we got. I'm trying to see if there's any mix them up questions out there. You guys are really good sometimes at the crazy good questions. So Robert's got a question from Globe, Arizona. Have you ever messed around with a Fender Deluxe Strat Plus character cards? Thoughts? Oh, yeah. So what he's talking about was that 2015? Was that 2015 when Fender came out with they came out with Deluxe Strat that had these like cards that when it like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? They had like, they look like SD cards, right? They slid them in and it changed the pickup configurations and stuff. Man, you know what? Maybe I should, I mean, I feel guilty right now. I don't think I've ever touched one. It was one of those things that I saw and I was like, you know, I don't know why. I just didn't, I know he's saying he loves his. I would imagine the concept seems cool. When I saw it, I was like, you know what it is for me? It's not that I didn't think the idea was good. I just didn't have a thought in my head that said, yeah, I need that. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to change everything around. But cool idea. They abandoned it, right? They don't make it anymore. Fender's really good at trying stuff. That's one thing that's really good at. They'll try stuff all the time. And if it works, they keep it. And if it didn't sell too good, they get rid of it. And sometimes that's too soon. You know what I mean? Newell 1000 says, upgrading from a Katana, picking up an Origin 20H from Sweetwater next week. Okay, that's a good upgrade. I'll need pedals now. What was I saying? I was telling somebody, I'll tell you guys, one thing I tell everybody, I go, if there's anything that sells pedals, it's amps. You buy a new amp, you're almost going to guarantee pedals. So he says, I'm definitely getting the VH4 because I'm an Adam Jones fan. What other pedals should I get while there? Well, I mean, with the Origin, it's got an effects loop. You're probably going to need a reverb pedal and a delay. So that's something to, if you're using the Katana, because that's one thing about the Katana, it's great. All those kind of background effects are in there, the delays and the reverbs. So I think that's what I would look at getting. And then I have to look up, hold on a second, because I don't know what the VH4 is. So I'm going to look up what that is. Okay. So the VH4 is the diesel pedal. See, I knew the diesel pedal. I didn't know it was called the VH4. So the diesel pedal will be your distortion. Yeah, so get a good reverb, man. If you want a suggestion, I suggest the Hall of Fame 2 is a great suggestion. I have a lot of reverbs. I like them a lot. The Hall of Fame 2 is a really good, straightforward reverb to put in there. So I feel like I'm becoming a bigger TC pedals fan each month just because I keep finding them. Cheddar Kung Pal says he just donated to the Shamrock Shake Fund. He goes, I actually don't like them, but there you go. Yeah, I know tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, right? So, all right. Green beer for everyone. All right. Oh, Scott Evans wants to know, hey, Phil, any chance the Taylor Guitar Factory will be included in your tour California road trip? I don't know. So basically it's a beggars can't be choosers kind of logic. What I plan to do is start planning the trip in probably this weekend and then contacting those people and saying, this is the day I want to come, because unfortunately, won't be a situation where I get to give them options on when I gotta be consecutive every day. I have to be somewhere. I want to take like a 5-day trip and go, okay, today I'm here, today I'm there, today I'm here. So 5 days. So as long as it can be done, that's definitely one of the ones I want to hit for sure. So, all right, next, what do we got going on? It's over 1,000 of us hanging out, by the way. You guys are awesome. So, all right. Okay. Next one. It says, this is from Accelerate Wales. Phil, bought a brand new PRS Custom 24 with ebony fretboard. What do you think it is? What do you think the difference is with rosewood fretboard? By the way, I love the new 8515s. I also love the 8515s. That's what's in my CE Custom 24. CE24. I have two CE24s, and I love the 8515s. What do I think the difference is? So, believe it or not, I'm a rosewood fan, and I wouldn't really pick ebony over rosewood very many times, almost next to never. But for some reason on a Paul Reed Smith, I think ebony just fits the guitars. So, it's one of those things. Some people say they can't hear a difference. Some people, they can't tell the difference. It's a placebo. Who knows? Those are all good points, and there's no disparaging any of them. But in my experience, sometimes you kind of can tell, you know what I mean? And if you can't tell, you think you can tell, and that's still something you got to deal with. Right. So yeah, I think the rosewood would probably be a little warmer maybe, but man, I don't know. Those 8515s have a lot of fullness and bass to them. So I bet you the Ebony sounds really great with the 8515s. So the only reason I don't have a custom 24 Ebony fretboard is because it's more money to get that. William says, hey, Phil, if you ever sell your Chapman, hit me up. Yeah, you know, what's funny is I think I've had it now for 3 days. Like I still just got it. So nice guy Eddie says, hey, Phil, have you ever played a bass with a tremolo system? I have. I'm thinking about modding one of mine, but $400 is a lot. Do they stay in tune? The Kalers. They do stay in tune. And yes, I have had I've had a tremolo system on my bass before. It stayed in tune fine. And what you find is it's a total waste of money, right? There's no practical use for it. It's a gimmick. I did it. I put it on there. It was like, I just thought it was cool. You know, you could hit a note and you dive bomb and stuff. You're not going to be able to tremolo the bass string. That's what I found, you know, so unlike a guitar where you hit the note and you kind of can fluctuate that pitch, you know, and get that kind of, you know, the kind of tremolo effect. That's not what you can do with a bass. Bass is basically, wow, just do that. And so here's what I suggest you do before you spend $400 and mod an instrument. I suggest you go on and buy yourself a used bass whammy pedal online. And I know it won't sound as good because it's kind of more digital. And go ahead and play with that for the afternoon. And after about 2 hours, if you still think that's something you want to do, I would suggest you buy that tremolo. And then you sell your bass pedal. But definitely use the bass. Definitely use a whammy pedal first. It'll do everything the tremolo will do just on your foot. But again, my guess is after you do it a few times and you decide this is the greatest thing ever, by the time, let's just say I'm predicting a short honeymoon on that, just from my experience with doing that. And that's what happened with me too. And the other thing is, in my experience was then when I decided to get rid of that bass with a tremolo, it didn't add value to it. So you're not getting any of that money back. So I would definitely recommend the pedal. Chris De La Cruz says, hey, Phil, what's your opinion on the TubeWorks Mosh Valve MV962? Okay, so I am double checking to make sure that I know what that is, because I know what the Mosh Valve is, because that's a brand, but I want to make sure it's something not crazy and new. Yeah, you're talking about the rack mount unit, right? So it's the Mosh Valve something. You know what? Let's go back this way. 962. Oh, wow. So this looks like the 962 is when Jazzmasters had it. So hold on. I'm just double checking, guys. This is the power amp. Yeah. I like them. You know, back in the day, everybody had a really nice effects processor through a Mosh Valve power amp section. At least where I used to live, that was the rig, man. Yeah, I think based on that, you know what I would say is, you know, obviously for rack mount power sections, I like it better than maybe some of the straightforward PA type power power sections like a Crown or any brand like that. And it's a heck of a lot lighter and smaller than a big tube power section. So I think you'll be happy with it. And they go for short money, right? I saw one a few weeks ago and it was very realistically priced. So yeah, man, I dig it. Sorry. Oh, Natalia something 92. We're just say 92 says, hey, Phil, love the show. Thank you, buddy. Says, so I have a first generation Gibson robot. Okay, so Blue Les Paul. Yeah, you have the real one, right? This is back when they were actually calling it the robot. Yeah. I was wondering what you think about changing the nut and tuners on that thing. I love the guitar, but the tuners. Yeah, change them, man. Just ditch that stuff. So I still have 2 or 3 sets of those tuners downstairs on my bench. Yeah, because people just don't want them when they have them take off. Yeah, I would take it off, man. And so, you know, it's easy to pull off and put the new tuners on. Take it off. So the Robo tuners, you know, there's a couple people out there that love them, and what you'll experience is probably this, and this is what I've experienced. They're not wrong. If you get them and it works and you love it, it's great. in my experience, I actually wanted to like it and mine acted up. And what I found is some of them act up and some of them don't work right. So, and it could be user error, but doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. If I can't fix my user error or I can't fix them, either way, it's a problem. So, okay. Louis wants to know, hey, Phil, would you rather put an LPD Plexi in front of a Bass Breaker 15 or a classic 20 mH? The Bass Breaker 15. So that would probably be it. If you know why? Because I think the Bass Breakers have more of that Marshall vibe. Now, so you know, everybody's going to correct me right now, because like the 7-watt was kind of based off a Marshall, and the 15 was kind of based, you know, like Fender says, was based off this Fender amp and this Fender amp. But all of them, I don't care what it, you know, that's great marketing play, and I'm sure it's all legitimate. But in my ears tell me all the Bass Breakers have this kind of Marshall vibe to them. They're definitely on the more of a Marshall vibe than the Fender vibe. And considering the Marshalls came from Fenders, I understand that too. But you understand what I'm saying? They just have that vibe. So I think putting a Plexi in front of that would be great. So, all right. Yeah. Somebody was talking about the RoboTuners. First mod, throw them in the trash. Yes. Oh, okay. So the Runier 781 says tips for soloing ? I get lost on the fretboard. You know, I'm not a solo guy for sure. I'm a rhythm player for guitar for sure. And in fact, if it wasn't for YouTube videos, I probably wouldn't solo it ever. I only try to fake some solos for videos to give reference. You know, a lot of my playing that you hear is reference, so you guys can hear the gear in some degree. But I will tell you this, man. There are so many great courses on mastering the pentatonic, and that's kind of like where my vibe is, right? And so a lot of people that like you, that says you get lost in the fretboard. This is going to sound like a horrible plug, but I really enjoyed it. I got, it was during, I think there's a holiday coming, right? Well, it's St. Patrick's Day, so he probably doesn't do it. But during like the last holiday, I bought one of Tyler Larson's courses for like $10, and it was great for that. It walked me through some cool pentatonic stuff, and it gave me some good tips. That's what I'd recommend. Try to find some good online courses on some pentatonics and try to understand them. And when people say they get lost in the fretboard, that's because I think you're thinking too big, right? You just got to think in a key, you know, right? So you're playing the key. You need to learn how to play some solos in the key of E kind of thing, right? So something like that. But if you guys have suggestions, because I know you guys are out there checking out online videos too and stuff, please put in the notes in the comments some suggestions you might have, because I'm always looking for something new too. Robert Baker has also got some great instruction too, and I kind of feel horrible because you guys know I know those guys, but I'm being sincere. I really appreciate what they do, and I've had good luck with their stuff. So let's see. Roland says, thoughts on the Peo Ferro. Bought my made in Mexico with rosewood. Had to send it back due to a defect and got Peo Ferro. Can't seem to click with it. Yeah, Peo Ferro, you know, it's funny, is Peo Ferro is slightly harder than rosewood, and I actually like a lot of things about it. The Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat supposedly has Peo Ferro. Some of the really high-end Fender deluxe basses back in the day had Peo Ferro. My buddy's Victor Bailey, his Victor Bailey Fender bass has Peo Ferro fretboard. So I actually like Peo Ferro. I would actually put it up there as like a win. Funny enough, Peo Ferro to me was more expensive than rosewood. So it's funny to me now that rosewood's got this problems. They're putting Peo Ferro on there, and it almost feels like a downgrade because it took the rosewood away, but it's an upgrade, if that makes any sense, right? Because they were using Peo Ferro as an upcharge on most instruments. If it had it, it was, oh, you know what? My Stewham Urge bass is Peo Ferro fretboard. See, think about that. So I'm curious. Now, so if you're not clicking with it, it could be the instrument. You may have to send it back and get another Peo Ferro. But no, I haven't personally seen anything with Peo Ferro that would make me go, oh man, why isn't this rosewood? I actually wouldn't mind. I don't mind that they're switching over to Peo Ferro. I think it's pretty okay. So I think it gives you kind of some of the aspects that you want. But in that case, all instruments are different. You could be experiencing that. So, but if you got some return time, play it for a little bit. Try to see if it fits, man. Sometimes it's just first reaction isn't a good reaction, and you got to move on. You know, kind of got to go with it before you move on. JB wants to know how good is the Marshall Silver Jubilee, and I have not been able to try one yet. Still have not tried one. I've just videos only. I got to play one for a second when they first came out. The NAMM show was so loud I couldn't hear anything, and literally where I live, there's 20 Marshall dealers, and I'm being sarcastic, but there's a lot, and there's no Silver Jubilees. Seems like who carries Marshall just carries their what do you call it, the whatever the digital modeling amp is. I don't know why I can't think of the name right now. Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? We got a little more time. We'll go a little bit. Let's see what we got. There's over 1,000 of us. GraphTech Labs says, what about fretboards on Hagstrums? They're synthetic. They are synthetic. And I have a Hagstrom. I own a Hagstrom jazz body guitar with a synthetic fretboard. It's a phenolic resin fretboard. And theirs is actually one of my favorite synthetic fretboards. You know why? Because what I see happening with those phenolic resins is they add some kind of, they add wood fibers to some of them, you know, right? And those, man, they look like ebony. They have this wood grain to them because they put all this fiber in there. So I think there's some good things about synthetic resin fretboards. Like I talked about previously, I have the Godin A6 and it has a what do they call it? Richlight fretboard. And you know, I'm still on the fences out on that guitar. But some of the phenolic resin fretboards I've played have been fantastic. They're just really snappy and reactive. And that's the good and the bad of them. I'm saying it almost in a good and bad way because it is. So, yeah, of course. And I also subconsciously realized that eventually we're probably going to only have synthetic fretboards. I mean, it just seems like it's going to go that well. So, you know, if I don't learn to like them, I might not like what happens one day if I, you know, unless I want to be that guy that only plays the old guitars, so nothing wrong with that either. Lewis wants to know what's the thoughts on the Spark Booster pedal. I haven't tried it, so maybe I should try it. Calon Panic says, have you checked out the GNL's Doheny? I have not, and I want to really, really bad. And I just caught that Ron at GNL sent me an email again about coming to the factory, and I can't imagine they're not going to be on this little road trip I'm taking. And the Doheny is like, that is the guitar. Here's why. I want one of those, and Sir makes one that's like it too, and I want a Doheny. I think that's the guitar for me from GNL. So, yes. Anyone else got any? Okay. Sean Blue says, hey, Phil McKnight, so formal. Hey, Phil McKnight, what type of camera do I use in the house? What type of camera do I use at the house? It's the same one over. I think he really wants me to ask a question. Okay, cameras. I'll tell you all the cameras used. So I use 4 cameras. I will use my Galaxy 8 Plus phone. This is an amazing camera. I like this one. I use the GoPro Hero 5 camera. It's really good. I use a Canon 70D, which is a great camera that's in the other room. And downstairs, or otherwise I'd grab it and show it to you. As here is I use the Sony something 4K camera. And I will get the name right now because I am horrible at the nomenclature stuff. But it's the most popular one. And it's the AX53 4K camcorder. And I'm trying to think, and that's the 4 cameras I use the most by far. So there you go. But mostly on the new videos, you're seeing mostly the Sony camera. So, okay. We have a super chat question, and I'm going to say Ian Zeta is the name I'm going to read. It says, have you played a glitter guitar? Cool and unique. Their vids on YouTube. Really? I will check that out. In fact, let's copy paste it right now while while I'm talking, because let's see. Let's show everybody so we don't have to guess. Okay. Hold on a second. Copy that. Paste it since we get to share. A glitter guitar. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I mean, it looks like a glitter guitar. Oh, am I saying it? It's a Gittler guitar. Is that it? Did I? No, you're saying glitter. But I see a brand called Gittler guitar. So here's the deal. Let's do both just to make sure. We'll fix it. We'll fix it later. So it might, because I know how when you're typing stuff, how the stupid phones and computers change what we're saying. So real quick, hold on, where's it at? This guitar is a crazy guitar that comes up, and I have seen a YouTube video of this. If this is what you're talking about, this is the crazy thing. Look at this. This is that thing where it looks like a robotic metal spine. See, crazy this is. It's kind of see how that I've seen. It's like a stainless steel tube, and then it has here's a good picture too. A stainless steel tube, and then it has like stainless steel frets going across, right? And then it's crazy. There is a video on that. I'll put a link in the description if that's what you're talking about. Because I have seen the video on that where the guy plays it. And the argument is like, that's one of those, the tone woods don't matter because the guitar sounds fine, you know, right? Kind of thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what the video I saw was about. That's how I caught it. So I was like, all right, that was cool. So, and somebody want to know my thoughts on Super amps. I've decided that I'm going to review the Super amps. I have 3 of them and I'm going to review them. So if you guys saw, I increased the amount of reviews this week. I usually don't do as many reviews as people think. I'm lucky to do 1 a week, if that, and usually in a month 3. And I'm going to increase that amount for a little while because there's going to be so much other content coming too. So I just want to kind of balance it out. Newmore0704 says, hey, Phil, I love the videos. Thank you. Are you going to do tutorial about how to change pickups? Yes. What I've decided to do on the Sharp Max videos, hopefully you'll see when the new ones come out as they're coming out. Each one's going to have like a small section showing you one integral thing that I think is kind of cool. So they'll be entertaining. You'll get to see somebody's guitar gets tricked out, and I'll show you all little pieces of what I do, and then one real thing. Like, this is how you do this one thing and do it all the way. So we'll see how that goes. John Murphy wants to know, do I ever buy guitars off Craigslist or Facebook? I have bought stuff off Facebook, obviously, or Craigslist. I haven't bought anything off Facebook, but Craigslist, yeah, I bought pedals and cabinets and amplifiers. And I've had to buy a guitar. I can't imagine I didn't. Oh, I did. You know what it is? Yeah, the last guitar I bought off Craigslist, I mean, it was like 2 years ago, but it was my Ibanez RG7620 7-string in black. I bought it off Craigslist. So sometimes it's fun now when I buy stuff off Craigslist, because when I meet people in the parking lot, they know the channel. They at least seen the channel, and they look at me, and I can tell they recognize me, but they can't tell from where. And that's even funnier because it's not like so the whole time they're talking to me, they're like, you can see in their face just like, where do I know this guy from? You know what I mean? And I know they're thinking like, did this guy rob me once? You know, like, how do I know him? You can tell it's bugging them. And every once in a while they ask me. And so they're like, hey, how do I know you? And I'm like, have you been to the post office? My picture's there. No, I'd never say that. Not in a parking lot. Guitar Hack says, hey, love the channel. It's growing. Thank you. And it says the chats are a lot busier now. Yeah. It's a little crazier now. That's for sure. But Sebastian wants to know any recommendations for the Jackson Minion tuner replacements. I replaced mine with Godot's. They were straight replacement, Godot locking tuning keys. That's what's on my Minion Jackson guitar. They were direct replacements. So something to think about. So yeah, you should be able to find direct replacement from Godot, or you can get ratio tuners with the plates that will let you adapt to those and put those on there as well. Both those would be fantastic. I put Godot's on there because I think I bought them for $62. So $62 seemed like a better investment for tuning keys on a guitar that was $149 retail. You know what I mean? So that's why I did that. And all I was looking for was just something that would lock so I can change the guitar strings faster. So, okay, what else we got going on? Anything else cool? All right, hold on. We got Marty. Marty said he wanted to know. He said, would love to see or hear a video about setting pickup height on a Strat by ear. Oh, okay. That's a good one. Because that's how I like to do it. I know that in the video I was doing today, I'm setting pickup heights because I put new pickups in, and I'm talking about that using your ear for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a good suggestion. I appreciate that, Marty. I think that's a good way to go. What I'm hoping to happen with these new series, because there's so much work, is that each one creates a supplemental video of some repair ideas. One of the downfalls I had in the video I'm doing, the current one, was there's something I did in the video that and I've never had this experience before with the other 5. Something in the video I can't show you guys. It was funny. I really wrestled with it. I had to fix something on the guitar, and it was very sensitive, and I wanted to show you guys all. And so I kind of, you'll see in the video how vague I'm being about it. I'll describe what I'm doing, but I won't show you, because if you do it wrong, you are going to seriously damage your instrument. And it was because I was removing there was glue on the instrument. And so the person had glue on their instrument. So I had to remove the glue off the finish of the guitar. And I've done it a few times. This guitar is a very expensive guitar. I just don't want anybody doing crazy stuff to their guitars with only like a 1-minute video explanation on it. So Bruce says, hey, do you like TB Jones pickups? I hate them. Yeah, they seem unresponsive. Oh, interesting enough. You know, my only experience with TB Jones pickups are in 2 things. They're in my Gretsch, so in my Gretches, and that's, to me, I attribute that to the Gretsch sound. I don't know about unresponsive. I mean, Gretches just have a Gretsch sound, so they just sound that way. But I've seen them in tellies, and I've played them in Telecasters, and pretty good, right? They're good pickups. So I'm curious, unresponsive. I wonder what that is. I wonder why. I'm trying to figure out what about them would make you perceive that, because to me, perceptionally, I think people perceive them being bright because Gretches are kind of bright, but I've actually found them to be kind of punchy and mid-range and low. So are like it's a fullness, because I actually look at it the opposite, because it's funny. I think this sometimes happens to pickups. They get deemed a certain way, right? Like, in other words, the TB Joneses get deemed as being bright because Gretches kind of have a bright, twangy sound. But what I really see is Gretches have a really bright, twangy sound, and actually the pickups are probably mellowing that out and making that more livable, right? So I'm curious. But you know, I like my TB Joneses. I like all the TB Joneses. And there's probably a little brainwashing in there. My first experience with TB Jones was Brian Setzer. You know, I had a Brian Setzer guitar with TB Jones in it, and that's definitely a guitar I regret getting rid of, the Brian Setzer. I mean, I love my current Gretsch, but I should have kept the Brian Setzer. Okay, so, all right. Is there any guitar you tried that you just can't play? Body style is awkward or neck spec? Yes, V's. I can't do V guitars. You know, before I learned, you know, YouTube is this ever-evolving learning process for me. You know, YouTube is about recording and directing and producing. That's what this is about, right? I mean, I'm talking about guitar, but I'm really got to record it, produce it, direct it. I have no experience in doing that at all. Actually, anybody watching the videos knows I've just been learning as I go and improving as I go. Because it's a skill set that I've never spent any time in my life doing until I saw him start sticking a camera in front of my face. That being said, I've learned now I'm doing more B-roll. I started doing this thing now where I'm actually recording in the room when I'm recording, so I can catch anything that maybe magically that gets missed, because there's certain things that happen. So in that all being said, about a year ago, I bought a Jackson V. I wanted a really nice V. I bought this really nice Jackson V, and I went to do a video, and why I didn't put the video out, and I deleted it all, you know, off the SD card. It was really stupid. And what happened was, it might be funny now, but that day it was not funny. But today it's funny. I get the V, I put it in my lap, and I go to play, and I play a chord, and I don't know what I did, but I turned my wrist a certain way, and this pain shot down my arm, and my hand hurt. And you see me grab, I grabbed my guitar, I set it down, I grabbed my hand, and for like 2 days, my hand hurt from being in that weird angle just for a second and doing something. And I immediately got rid of the guitar. I mean, immediately was gone like the next day. I was really distraught. And I don't know what that was. I never had that happen before. If you're like, and I'll tell you, that's some things that happen to you, having the shop, especially the repair side of the shop and the lesson side, you meet a lot of people and they freak you out. And there's a ton of people I know with serious tendonitis issues, all kinds of hand and wrist and forearm issues. You meet them like they're like water all the time. So you get freaked out about it. You know what I mean? That's what happens to me. I get freaked out about it because it seems like it comes no matter what with age. As you meet people, they seem to say this over and over. Some of the guitar players that I really respect that I've been able to meet and actually hang out with, they seem to all talk about it as this reality of it. So when that happened to me that day, I kind of freaked out. I wasn't sure if I did something wrong or if this was the beginning of the end of my hand hurting and stuff. But yeah, so no, the V guitar was a no-go for me. So, and the reason I would say it's funny is because I was so upset I got rid of it. Really, I bought the guitar just because I wanted to hang it and stare at it. And then even then I was so upset I didn't want to stare at it. So let's see. I don't know the answer to this question, but I want to answer because I know you guys are an amazing resource out there. Aaron KM says, hey, Phil, I'm a new to home recording. Is there a free studio download that's user friendly? Please, guys, I'll index this. Please in the index, kind of put responses so Aaron can find out some good stuff. Right? I know you guys come across this stuff, and it's good to have a big pool of resources out there. And we'll do this. We'll do a couple more questions and we'll call it. Okay. Wagyu. Sure, why not? Wagyu says the bass vid was great. Wish it was longer. Yeah. I edited that one down. I think it's 5 minutes. It's short. Because I was self-conscious of the idea that I knew no one would watch it. The bass videos that I do, I get a lot of things, hey, do more bass videos. And then I do a bass video and then it does so badly view-wise compared to other videos. And it's not all about views, but it is about resource of time, right? It takes the same time to make pretty much all the videos to some degree. Actually, that's actually not accurate. Really what happens is through the Murphy's Law of it, the videos that take the longest to make get the least views, and the videos that take almost no time to make get the most views. It seems to be how it's working, just because that's the Murphy's Law laughing at your face. But yes, that bass video was hopefully just a precursor to say, hey, I'm going to start doing bass videos as well. Because obviously, as you may have tell from the bass video, I really, really like bass. So, Craig wants to know what's my favorite old DOD pedals. I like a couple of them. There's always the weird ones like the Milkman, right, or the Milk Box, whatever. Those are weird. And a couple I've never been a fan of. I'm a huge fan of the envelope filter one. It's behind me somewhere, maybe right there. What is that thing called? That is the something. I can't see it. It's too far. So yeah, the envelope filter ones are my absolute favorite DOD pedals. Absolute. In fact, I don't try to mention them too much because, as people buy them, their price goes up. But so far, they're still a good deal out there. Oh, Pat McKenna, you have a fantastically strange and awesome question. Out of curiosity, if you have a modeling amp and you model an amp that takes pedals well, will the modeling amp take pedals well also? No. But what a great idea. Now, let's take out things like Kemper because I don't have, that's a whole new level of modeling technology. So it may be so. But in the idea of if I go to my PV Viper, my Mustang, Fender Mustang, the Line 6, the, whatever, the Code series by Marshall, and I go, let's say an amp that takes pedals well would be like a Fender 65 Deluxe. That's an amp that likes pedals, right? Or a Fender Twin, even better. If I go to a Fender Twin model, will it take pedals? Yeah, it will take pedals better than probably a lot of those other presets, but will it take it as well as the real amp? No, because the sound has been copied, but not the actual way that the amp works has been copied. And when we talk about taking pedals well, which is a very weird saying, I don't think it's always about sound, right? It's because by that logic, you're like, any amp that's clean should take pedals well, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is there are certain ways amps are built so that when the input signal comes into them, they do certain things. They react a certain way. My experience, like, here's my favorite doesn't take pedals well concept. I like Boss pedals and I like Mesa Boogie amps, and for some reason, I've never been able to get those two things to work together nicely. The first thing that happens to me that's always strange, and I'm sure Lawrence and the guys that are hanging today can tell you way better. Maybe I'll have to ask them and put that on the air. But here's something interesting with Mesa Boogie amps for me. If I plug a Boss pedal into a Mesa Boogie amp and don't even turn it on, right? Just have it in the signal, the amp hisses. And maybe that's the buffer. I'm not sure what that is. But what I've learned is this. My Boss pedals and my Mesas never seem to work well together. So to answer your question, no. I think if you were to use the modeled part of an amp that takes pedals well in that quote, no, it wouldn't work because it's not the sound, it's the way the amp is physically working with the sound. Okay, here's a weird, it's going to be hard to talk about these, in a question format, but I'll give it a shot, Scott. Scott Brown wants to know a wiring question. Is it possible to wire a single coil size neck humbucker? Okay. A single coil neck, a middle single coil, a bridge single coil, and a bridge single size humbucker with a 5-way. Thanks. Okay. What you're asking is basically you would have 5 pickups. So I know what he's trying to say. Like, you take basically a mini humbucker, a single coil size humbucker, right? So we got humbucker, a single coil, then you got your middle single coil, then you got a single coil and a mini humbucker, right? So essentially it would look like a humbucker, single humbucker is what it would look like, but you're saying all 5 single coils. Is there a way to do that? Yes, but yes, obviously, because there's a way to wire up pretty much anything anyway. However, fitting it's going to be a little weird, but it can be done, and I'm sure to some degree it has been done. The most obvious, masterful way that can be done is the Paul Reed Smith 513. The 513 is 5 pickups. People don't understand the 513. It's 5 pickups. It's called the 513 because it's 5 pickups with 13 pickup combinations, right? And it looks like humbucker, single humbucker, but it is exactly what you're talking about, except for one change. It is 5 single coils that are all stacked, so they're all noiseless. So yes, the answer to your question is, can it be done? I would imagine it would look a lot like a normal humbucker. It would look like a normal pickup system. The trick is the switch. It's how you wire up a switch. You would need a super switch, which is a 5-way super switch. That's what it's called. So yeah. I'm pretty busy right now, but I'm sure if I get some free board time, I could probably write it up for you, a diagram on a super switch, because it would work. And then you'd have to put some kind of mini toggle, because I'm sure you'd want to make it to where you could go like, the humbucker to the single, you know what I mean? You get all the variations. But yeah, a lot of wiring work though. And I don't know what the benefit would really be, because to me, I would just rather have the mini humbucker, single mini humbucker, and then just split those. So there you go. But sometimes that's not what it's about, right? Sometimes it's about doing something crazy and fun. If you're not having, like I always say, if you're not having fun, this is pointless, right? You know what I mean? Let's see. It says, "Hi, Sir McKnight." Oh, that's so cool. I got called Sir. Hi, Sir McKnight. For you, which pedal is the same organic vibe than the exotic AC booster pedal? Thanks a lot for your reply. Greetings from France. Yeah, same vibe as the AC exotic AC booster. Yeah, it's the Mythos. That one sounds a lot like that pedal to me, the AC booster, even though I think it's a Blues Driver clone. it's got that same kind of vibe to me as the exotic AC booster. So something like that. What else? I'm trying to think what else is like that. They don't, it's not that pedal sounds like, I'm just saying the vibe, right? To me, the other pedal that vibes like that is the Timmy. That, you know, all those kind of low, mid-grain, full amp type tones. To me, those pedals have a boosting ability, but they also have this kind of really cool amp-like kind of response. So, and then we'll do 2 or 3 more questions. I know I said that, but we're right there at the end of the, and here's a good one. It says, okay, 44 Scoots. 44 Scoots says Champion 40 versus Katana 50 versus Blues Cube Hot 30. We actually did that shootout. We just didn't tape it. I don't know why we didn't videotape it. The general consensus of the group was the Champion 40 was the best of the 3. But I would say, in my opinion, Champion 40 Katana are a almost like an even tie. I think the Katana's clean is a little better than the Champion 40. There's some things I like about the Champion 40 better, but they're, you know, if the Champion 40 is a 9, the Katana's a 10, it's slightly off. The Blues Cube, actually, which was the most expensive of the 3, did the worst for me. So I think the Blues Cube Hot is a really good amp, but it's a different kind of amp. So David says, any plans to stop by Kiesel on your trip to California? No, not any plans right now. Tone King has a really great video of him going through the factory, so I'm not sure what to do, but I would love to, because like I said, I want to do this trip and do some cool stuff. So nothing is off limits. How about that? All righty. What else you guys got? Anything else before we go? It's been a little... Oh, I don't know why. This is the weirdest question. I got to react to it just because it says, hey, how do you feel about Toys R Us closing? I didn't know they're closing, man. Sure. Toys R Us is closing. Where are we going to get first act guitars now? Where are we going to get them? I don't know. So Target. So yeah, I didn't hear Toys R Us is closing. Matthew Roach got a question. He says, I want to buy an Ibanez AZ2402. Yeah, I know why. Okay. Please talk me out of it. Oh, anything negative to say about the guitar? Oh, you know, let's look at it. Hold on a second. And you know, I play, you know, you already know the cheesy part. I'm just going to pull it up so you guys, everybody knows what we're talking about. Okay. Again, let's just share this. Everybody knows kind of, I think, what the AZ series is. This is the AZ series guitar. You know, the only negative, it's $2,000, man. You know, that's the negative. It's a lot of juice, and I'm sure that's why you're stressing over it, right? It's a lot of money. But playing the guitar, it was as every good as any other guitar in that price range. So there's no issues, man. You know, so talk you out of it. You know, other than the boring stuff, you could take the money and put in your retirement, put it in a 401k. You know, I mean, I don't know, you know, right? The truth is, it's, you know, it's guitars, sadly enough, I think I've said this before. If not, I'm saying it now. $100 guitar is a luxury item, just like $1,000 guitar and a $10,000 guitar. They're all luxury items. So it's if you want it, you know, that's part of it. If you can afford it, that's important, I'm sure. But more importantly, if you're comfortable with spending the money and you want it, you should do it. You'll be happy. If you're not comfortable with the money aspect, then don't do it. That's a big part of it. So yes. All right. All right. Anything else? Any other good things before we go? I think we're done. I think that was a good QA, man. When are we going to hear the PAL 800 Gold? I am so scared to say this because if I say it, it's going to not happen. But it should be tomorrow's video. So that's what it should be. The reason is I have a small issue with the video that I have edited up, and I have to fix it, and it's out of my control. So if it gets fixed like it's supposed to tonight, then it's up tomorrow, and life is good. So that is every intention of doing that. So if not, I can tell you, the only thing I can tell you this, if it's not up tomorrow, it doesn't matter, because the next video is that. So there won't be a video until that comes out. Oh, and then somebody just hit the awesome question button. Last question. AZ, the Ibanez AZ versus the Silver Sky. Thoughts, right? Okay, so here's the question. Which one would I get, right? That's what I'm thinking. If I was going to get one, let's say I could take one for free, right? Who wouldn't love that? So if somebody was going to give you one, what would you take? I take the Ibanez AZ, and I feel weird saying that. It's one of those, like, I think no matter which one you pick, you got a little bit of regret, in your head, like, oh, I should have went the other way. No, I think the Silver Sky would be cool. It'd be fun. I like John Mayer. I like PRS. I like Strats. It just seems like a perfect mix, right? I like all those three things. Why not go for it? But to me, the AZs. But the other factor in that can't be disseminated is the fact that I've never played the Silver Sky, but I have played the AZ. So, but the AZ for me right now. All right, that was good. So, all right. That being said, I think we'll call it. It was a good QA. I had a blast. I appreciate you guys all hanging out with me today. It was awesome. And I'm going to end it with just a shout out to all the people who make this happen. As you guys know, I like to take a second and always in the videos at these live shows and say thank you to to Bradulus and Jeff Howes and Zachary Rowe, Michael Newman, Bruce Garris, Hannah Gunson, John Jex, Michael Shy, Justin Mabe, David Madison, Lawrence Petros, of course, from LPD Pedals. And a lot of you guys hung out with me yesterday for the Patreon 1st and 15th hangs, because we added 2 now. And James Biles, Robert Brooks, Tim Camacho, Robert Hodges, Steve Penna, Paul, I can't say your last name. I'm going to have to fix that. Michael Linder, Joe Watson, Brent Odell, Gregor, Jonathan Pickering, Bob Pickwood, Tim, John Levitt, Space Jazz, Pedal Pal Effects. Thank you again, because those guys hung out with us yesterday also all day on the Patreon thing. Thank you so much. Ricky Robinson, Chuck Keene, Chris Glaze, and Dylan87, plus Russ, of course, from Taurus Pedals. All you guys are fantastic. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. And until next week, I want to say thank you guys so much for your time, and know your gear. Take it easy.